Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is an exciting one because it's going to be my first update for my Pan That Palette project for 2024. If you missed my intro video, I will have that linked in the description box down below. I go into more detail in that video about the project and the prompts that I'm doing. But basically, to sum things up, I'm working on 2 palettes this year, and I'm joining in on the Pantastic Ladies collab for the fun size palette, and then I am also joining in on the Better Together prompt. So instead of a Pan That palette, I'm really technically doing a Pan Those palettes. I'm working on my Wet n Wild Color Icon palette in My Glamour Squad, and I'm trying to hit pan in every shade. And then I'm also working on my Smashbox Cover Shot Major Metals palette and just trying to get more use out of that palette in general. I'll show you both of those palettes in a minute, but I don't want to spoil any progress. But basically, they are the 2 oldest palettes in my collection, and I'd really like to get some more use on them this year. So as per usual with January, I was feeling the panning motivation, and I got a lot of usage out of my palettes this month. Let's start with the Wet n Wild palette. I'll go ahead and insert a photo of what this palette was looking like last month. I already had 1 pan in this palette at the start of this project in the shade that's labeled, I believe, number 9. On the back of the palette, they don't have shade names, but they do have numbers. And it is the neutral mid-toned brown shade in the palette. And this is what my palette is looking like now. So as you can see, we do have another pan hit in this palette. I hit pan in this champagne gold shade after 9 uses. And I'm very excited about that because now I'm really off to a good start with my project. My goal for this palette, again, was to just hit pan in every shade. And I'm feeling pretty good that I was able to hit a pan this month. I used every shade in this palette apart from the neutral brown that I already had pan in to start. So I will just go through and tell you how many times I've used each shade. So shade number 1, the lighter transition shade, I've used 18 times. As I mentioned, I used shade number 2, the champagne gold, 9 times and hit pan on the 9th use. The yellow gold shade number 3, I used 5 times. The burgundy matte shade number 4, I used twice. The black matte shade, I used 16 times. Jumping to the other row, the rose shimmer shade, I used twice. The plum shimmer number 7, I used twice as well. Number 8, the rust orange matte, I used 15 times. I did not use the neutral brown any times this month because I already had pan on that one to start. And then number 10 is the dark brown matte in the palette. I used 18 times. So I'm feeling really good about my usage on this one. I've already kind of seen some dips forming, especially in this lighter transition shade. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see that, but there's definitely a good dip kind of forming in the shade because I pretty much use this shade every time I dip into this palette. It's always my first transition shade, so I have a feeling this one's going to get a lot of use and could potentially be our next pan, but I have a feeling that the shimmers are going to be easier to pan than the mattes. So since I hit pan on the champagne gold shade, the shimmer that I've been kind of focusing in on the most is this yellow gold shade. I'll actually swatch this one for you because I thought this was going to be like a pure yellow gold, but it actually comes across almost a little bit bronzy. And I found that it's actually a lot more wearable and flattering than I thought it would be. One tip that I have sort of discovered with this palette though, to make the shimmers in this palette really pop, I pretty much always now use my NYX glitter primer first before dipping into the shimmers with my fingers and pressing them into the glue. That was one of my main complaints about this palette was I love the matte formula, but the shimmer formula has always just left a little bit to be desired for me. When you just apply it on its own with your finger, it's nice, but it doesn't really pop. Like the shimmers don't really come through very much on the eyes. And it's even worse when you just apply it with a brush. So I tried a bunch of different application techniques this month, including spraying my brush and everything, and I found that there is a huge difference when I layer these over the NYX glitter primer, and I think that's just going to be the way that I'm going to work with this palette because I like impact from my shimmers and I want to be able to see the color and also the shine. So I'm really happy that I found a way to work with the shimmers that I like. So I'm going to keep focusing in on the gold shimmer shade. I'm going to continue using the lighter transition shade in every look. And then I pretty much have been using either the black or the dark brown matte in every look as well. But neither of those are showing any sort of dips yet because I'm just using such a small amount since they are such dark shades. But hopefully my motivation will continue into February. There are some really nice kind of rosy tones in here and I have them on my eyes today. I've been getting into the Valentine's spirit with my eye looks using the rosy shade, the kind of soft plummy shade, and also the burgundy matte, and kind of switching things up so that I don't get too bored with this palette, and I've really been enjoying it so far. So with the addition of the new pan this month, there are now 8 shades that I still need to hit pan in. It would be great if I could hit a pan in one of these in February, but February is also a shorter month, so I'm just going to try to keep chugging along with my progress and we will see how far we can get in the month ahead. Moving along now to my Smashbox Cover Shot palette, I have to say the updates for this one are a little bit less exciting. I've really been focusing in on 1 or 2 shades out of here to get use out of. I don't anticipate being able to hit pan in every single shade in this palette because these shimmers are really impactful. Like just applying them with my finger, no glitter glue needed, I get a ton of impact and pigmentation out of a really small amount of product. Well, my goal for this palette is just to use it more. It's the oldest palette that I have and it's definitely been neglected, but the shimmer formulation is honestly one of the best in my collection and I've really been enjoying dipping back into this. Here is what this palette was looking like last month. And here is what it's looking like today. So I have really only dipped into 2 shades so far. I've used this shade Chandelier 12 times and you might be able to see a little bit of a dip forming in that one. And then I've used the red shade called Heat Index twice and I also have that on my eyes today. Again, really enjoying the Valentine's-y tones and having a lot of fun pairing the shimmers in this palette with the shades in this palette. I really do think they work better together because this palette just has so much impact and this palette really helps to build out the structure of a look and get like a nice base shimmer down that I can then go in and amp up with these. So not a ton of progress or usage to report on this one just yet, but I am okay with that. I'm happy to be dipping back into this one more and more. And again, hopefully we will see some more progress on this in the month ahead. So that is my update for this month. Pretty short and sweet, but with one big win, which is that I got a pan in the Wet n Wild palette. Let me know in the comments down below if you all are working on a pan that palette or a pan those palettes this year. I would love to hear about your progress and cheer you on. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave if you would like to keep up with my progress throughout the year, and give the video a like if you liked it today. My next video should be up in the next few days. I think it's going to be my update for Project Level Up if all goes to plan. So I will look forward to seeing you in that video. And until then, thanks so much for watching. Bye.